and brand new stuff.
So Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I think we have a correspondence about. One of the interesting things about this week's 3 big releases is that I saw all 3 of them, not in preview screenings, but in screenings in cinemas, because 2 of them were previewing from Wednesday. 1 of them was previewing from Saturday. So I thought, well, I'll go along and I'll go and see them with audiences, because I do think sometimes that makes a difference. So this is co-produced by Lord Miller, who made Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street, which actually are quite good touchstones for what's to come. The script is co-written by Phil Lord. Voice cast includes Shamik Moore, Hayley Steinfeld, Mahershala Ali, Lily Tomlin, Nick Cage. And so at the beginning, we meet Miles Morales, whose character apparently first appeared in Ultimate Fallout #4. I should state from the outset that what I know about comic books would not fill the back of a postage stamp. This is always where I would take my hat off to somebody like Jonathan Ross, who really knows this stuff, and I don't. I just know the worlds from the films. He's a kid who thinks Spider-Man is great, but he doesn't like his new school. His dad is a cop who thinks Spider-Man is a reckless rogue and drops his son off at school in the most embarrassing way. You may well have seen this clip already because it's in the trailer, but it's just super charming. This is pulling up in the cop car, dropping his son off outside the school where he is desperate to fit in.
Event last night. Sources close to Spider-Man say he's looking into the problem.
Spider-Man. I mean, this guy swings in once a day, zip-zap-zop in his little mask and answers to no one, right?
Yeah, Dad, yeah.
I love you, Miles.
Yeah, I know, Dad.
You gotta say I love you back.
Dad, are you serious?
I wanna hear it.
You wanna hear me
I
say
love
it?
you, Dad.
You're dropping me off out of school?
I love you, Dad.
Look at this place.
Dad, I love you.
Dad, I love you.
That's a copy.
I'm sorry, isn't that a lovely
That's
scene?
good. Charming.
I mean, even just hearing it, even without sort of seeing the visuals. So anyway, he has a crush on a young girl who he meets, who we immediately know is going to be another part of the story. He has a penchant for graffiti, which is encouraged by his uncle. And while he's out spray painting, he's bitten by a spider. Turns out that there is a particle accelerator which can pull together alternate universes. And so all these various incarnations of Spider-Man from all these various universes all start finding themselves in the same space. So it's basically a play on the idea that there have been many iterations of Spider-Man and many versions of Spider-Man, and this is a version of the world in which all of these spider people come together. So he meets there's like a kind of a Deadpool-like Spider-Man who's old and tired. There's Spider-Woman. There's Spider-Man Noir. There's Penny Parker. There's Peter Porker, who is a kind of the cartoon pig. Again, if you've seen the trailer, you'll know all this stuff. And that idea of having multiple versions of the same character is something that we're all sort of used to, because if you think about it, we've had so many versions of Spider-Man. I mean, even since the time that we've been doing this show, okay, we've had Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, we've had Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, we've had Tom Holland Spider-Man, who are all as different as the various incarnations of Doctor Who. When I was thinking about this, I was thinking, you remember recently when there was just so much fuss about how Doctor Who could or couldn't be portrayed. Doctor Who has to be male. And it turns out everyone's perfectly accepted. The whole thing about Doctor Who is it's a character that can be done in any different way. And crucially, each different Doctor Who sort of seems to inhabit a different world. The tone of the world through which they move is very much defined by Doctor Who. So in the case of this, although all the characters are in the same world together, the immediate world that they occupy seems to be defined by them. And one of the cleverest things about the film is it's not just a matter of having a number of different characters in the same space. It's a number of different styles, a number of different movements, a number of different ways in which the universe appears to be treating them, which is defined by who they are. There was an early press conference, excuse me, which Lord Miller said they wanted to make it feel like you'd walked into a comic book, and they wanted every frame to look like a comic panel, which it really, really does. I mean, right down to the fact that the animation has got the kind of the dots that you would get, on printed comics, and that strange sort of the lining from the way the thing is printed. And at one point, it had me thinking of, remember when Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out? And we hadn't seen an awful lot of animation and live action interaction. I mean, obviously, you'd had it in things like Mary Poppins, but it was at a different level. But although this is all animation, the way in which the different animation styles come together did seem to me as striking as the juxtaposition of live action and cartoon. There's a hint of the craziness of, something like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I mean, this could actually be called Cloudy with a Chance of Spider-Man. It's very, very funny, like laugh out loud funny. And the audience that I saw it with were laughing at the jokes and the sort of the quick fire humor. But also it's touching because the whole point about Spider-Man is an outsider story. All the best iterations of Spider-Man treat Spider-Man as the awkward outsider. That's why the whole friendly neighborhood Spider-Man thing. I mean, I've read some comics when I was younger, and I always remember that thing about Spider-Man was he was always on the outside of everything. I know all comic book heroes are to some extent, but particularly in his case. And what you have here is a band of misfits. They're all fish out of water. They're all playing versions of the same misfit. And they're all in a universe which doesn't quite fit for them. And there was one thing that was strange, which was I saw the film in 2D. And when I saw it, there was a certain thing going on in the background that some of the backgrounds looked like they were unrectified 3D. And I had a conversation with somebody. He said, "Okay, it's a deliberate decision. It was meant to be to draw your eye to the characters on screen, right at the center of the screen. The fact that the back was slightly, that kind of weird phasing thing, was deliberate so that your eye is drawn." I have to say, from my point of view, I did occasionally find that distracting because there were a couple of moments when I thought, "Hang on, I'm watching a 3D film and I haven't put the 3D glasses on." But if you're getting down to that level of quibbling, then it means that generally the movie itself is working really well. I mean, I thought it was very, very entertaining, very sharp, looked pretty terrific, and it had that really important thing that even for somebody like me who doesn't know much about the actual Spider-Man comic book universe, I got the jokes, I understood it because I found it moving, because at the heart of it, it is that thing about a band of misfits, all outside their own world, all in the wrong dimension, all searching for their kind of identity. And it's almost as if the world is searching for that identity with them. It's fun.